FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. I'm here in Vancouver. Bumped into Otis Gold, our sponsor, and the CEO, Craig Lindsay. You probably heard our webcast with Craig a while back, a couple months ago. Craig been working on the Kilgore Project. It's about 12,000 acres. During the webcast, you addressed the fact that there was a complaint filed not against, or a legal action taken not against Otis Gold, but against actually the Forest Service because they acted too quickly on your permit request, which, I've heard of a lot of bizarre actions before, but government acting too quickly, I guess, to some people, they prefer the government not act at all.
Well, that's a good point, good comment. Good to see you this morning. What you're referencing is the Kilgore Plan of Operation. Kilgore is our flagship project in Idaho. The last time we permitted something called a Plan of Operation, which gives us the right to go and conduct exploration activities, including drilling, out at Kilgore. It took about a little over 2 years to permit a Plan of Operation under an environmental assessment. The new U.S. administration came in, made some regulatory changes to permitting in the United States, accelerating timelines. So our most recent permit, Plan of Operation, much larger in scale than our prior permit, was actually permitted in about 9 months. So we went from over 2 years to 9 months under this accelerated permitting regime. And there was an environmental group that filed a complaint against the U.S. Forest Service. Nothing really, frankly, to do with the Kilgore project itself or the merits of that or any of the environmental challenges or anything like that. It was really under, that happened very quickly. You must have cut corners. And the reality is it's just a more efficient process. So that the complaint was around that. If your listeners pull up a price graph of our company, right after they filed that complaint in November of 2018, it took the wind out of our sails, probably dropped over a third of our value from the share price. It created some real challenges for us to go out and raise money. But we did go through this process over the last year. In December, we announced that we had actually, the judge had issued his decision, which confirmed the status of the permit. And more recently, just actually this morning, we announced that a judgment came out confirming his decision. So this whole issue is in our rearview mirror right now. It's taken the shackles off of us, and it's going to allow us to start going out and doing project-wide exploration at Kilgore, which is really what we have a strategic investor, Agnico Eagle Mines, one of the most respected, largest Canadian-based gold mining companies in the world, who own about 8% of our company. They came in 2 years ago. It was all about drilling out the exploration potential there. So they kind of came in at an unfortunate time because this complaint was dropped, but now we're in a position to go out and do what they're excited about, what our investors are excited about, what our geologists are excited about. So going forward, the Otis Gold story is not going to circle around this regulatory permitting challenge, but it's going to start circling around exploration, drilling, discoveries, that sort of thing that gets people excited.
And I might add, at the webcast, I think the stock was trading around 6.5 cents a share. I said to everybody, there was hundreds of people have watched that webcast or the replay, and I said, this is one of the best special situations, I'm saying this from my past legal background, because this is a case where if you understand litigation risk, you're able to analyze it properly. You can really make some money here. Stock was up over 11 cents on the news, and that's with widespread misunderstanding as to the ramifications of that decision, because we've heard some people questioning, well, it didn't fully resolve all the issues. The one issue remaining is a minor water analysis issue. My understanding, Craig, is this is a low population area. and water isn't really a factor in this project, correct?
Yes. Well, the one thing the judge has asked us, the Forest Service, to do is go out and do some additional water monitoring on one particular area of the project called Dogbone Ridge. And this is the environmental group identified what they thought was a hole in our water monitoring, and that in this Dogbone Ridge area, the Forest Service didn't ask us to do any water monitoring. Why? Well, there's a seasonal creek out there at Dogbone Ridge. It only runs during the spring freshets. During the exploration season from July to the end of December, when we're out there, it's a dry creek. So there's nothing to monitor. So it was very frustrating, and it wasn't very clear in the environmental assessment. So that's what the Forest Service is going to be focused on doing, is just updating that and making that connection that the reason there's no water monitoring is because there's no water to monitor.
Yeah, well, welcome to the Byzantine world of environmental litigation and just crazy government bureaucracy. Now, we were just at the Idaho Mining Association breakfast here. There's a lot of activity taking place in Idaho. You're kind of in on the ground floor in this.
We really are. You've got Midas Gold, you've got Integra Gold, you've got Liberty Gold, you've got some of the largest phosphate mines in the United States in Idaho. You've got the world's largest open pit moly mine at Thompson Creek. You've got very high grade underground silver mines in what we call the Silver Valley up in the northeastern portion of the state. It's the number 5 industry in Idaho. And I suspect, given all of the local state support for exploration, development, mining in general, you're going to see mining go up a notch or two in terms of its importance to the state.
So you've been in this thing for quite a number of years now. You almost had the brass ring, and then it got snatched from you. Now, really, it's just expanding the resource. Looking at the PEA was done, I think, at $1,300 gold, if I remember, $1,280. And now we're at $1,500 plus. What's that going to do for the future prospects of Kilgore and of Otis?
Well, there's a couple of things. With respect to our PEA, which we announced in August of 2019, was showing 110,000 ounce a year production story, $124 million US NPV, 34% after-tax internal rate of return. So some really nice economics there. What we're going to be doing with respect, and that was at $1,300 gold. At $1,500 gold, the returns are extremely juiced up above. You get up at $1,500 gold with nothing changed. We're at about 60% after-tax IRRs. But a couple of things to keep in mind. Since the preliminary economic assessment was announced, we have completed some additional metallurgical work. And in the PEA, we were showing recoveries of 50% for what we call run-of-mine materials and 80% for crushed material down to half-inch. We have gone and done this metallurgical work subsequent to the PEA, and we're showing metallurgical recoveries for run-of-mine material at about 56, 57% versus 50% in the PEA. And we're showing 92% for half-inch crushed material versus the 82% that was used in the PEA. So that is going to significantly enhance economics. And the other thing that we never touch on or touch very little on at Kilgore is the fact that there is silver. It really is a gold story with a small silver kicker, but silver is about a 3-to-1 ratio, plus or minus, at Kilgore. It's never been measured from a resource perspective, and that's something that we want to do, is measure a resource for silver so that we can include it in a future PEA. For your listeners, silver is going to be something that's recovered in the doré bars that are sent to Johnson Matthey. So you're getting that silver anyways. You're going to get paid for it. So why not start measuring it and get that reflected in the economics of the project? And that is another thing that can excite people. But I want to say, Kerry, that you talked about, look, our focus is on expanding the deposit. That is one small part of our story, is expanding the deposit. The bigger part of our story is finding the second and the third deposits out there, and we can do this with this new exploration permit. We've really, historically, our permit, we were very permit constrained. It only allowed exploration in a very tight area around the deposit. Now we're going to be able to go out and start looking for the second and third deposits. And in we're at a volcanic hosted epithermal gold environment on the margin of something called the Kilgore caldera. And the nature of these deposits, it's always been explained to me, it's like grapes. They come in bunches. We've got that first grape, and we're looking for the second, third grape out there. So that's what's really exciting.
Hey, not to mention that your IRR has gone up dramatically based on what you were just saying and the increase in the price of gold. Really, and obviously, Agnico Eagle was more interested in the broader picture, not just what you're working on or what you had been working on in Kilgore.
That's correct. I mean, it's all for those folks. They're not looking for a 1 million ounce deposit. They're looking for a district-wide exploration play with multi-million ounce potential, and that's why they invested in Kilgore. That's why they invested in Otis. That's what we've got. I do, if you don't mind me just jumping back, because I think there's a bit of a perception amongst investors, amongst the local community, and we were talking earlier about the permit, some of the frustration around our legal complaint and the attitude of some of the environmental groups out there. I want to take a step back and to that whole story and let people know that exploration companies, development companies, mining companies are not in there to pillage the environment. We actually have operate, historically, there's definitely been issues with mining in the U.S. and elsewhere. In other jurisdictions, there continue to be problems, and it is a challenging thing to do to go out and mine. But almost all miners today, particularly in North America, are looking to minimize their environmental footprint. It's all about exploration best practices. It's all about working with the local community, all of the local stakeholders. It's about going and being a positive partner in environmental groups, explaining to them what you're doing. A lot of them are not particularly well educated on the steps you have to go through to drill a discovery hole and turn that into a mine. And so there's a lot of exploration that needs to happen, and we are doing that. We're not the kind of the big bad wolf out there. Every guy like me who runs an exploration or a mining company, we all have kids, and we all want to leave this world in a better place for them. And that is just the reality. There's a real perception gap out there. And I truly believe in that. We are committed to that. And all of our competitors in the Western U.S. have that same philosophy. It's just a different world out there. And responsible exploration and development is really what we talk about in the boardrooms all the time.
Yeah, I know a large measure of your time is invested in exactly that, the environmental impact and mitigating the environmental impact of your projects. And in a way, a lot of the environmentalists, they're kind of living in the past. It's kind of like the generals fighting the last war, because mining, this rapacious industry, extracts exploitative. The people don't even get the benefits of it. That's really, for the most part, in most of the world, a thing of the past. And I'm glad you brought that up, Craig. Hey, just tell us website and ticker symbol.
Ticker symbol in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange is OOO. That's OOO. In the United States, it's OGLDF. On the bulletin board, our website is www.otisgold.com. OTISGOLD.com.
Excellent. Hey, appreciate it, Craig. Any questions or comments, don't hesitate to email me, kl@kerrylutz.com. We answer all questions, and I'll refer anything you want to Craig. This is really an interesting play. What I really like here, Craig, is that the market still hasn't fully factored in the significance of that legal decision. It just amazes me that the way the markets work right now in this sector, news doesn't really get its full impact, sometimes for a month or two. But this is significant. It's exactly what we talked about during our webcast, which you can go back on the site. If you send me an email, I'll send you a link to the webcast. But it's exactly what we talked about that created this opportunity and is still keeping the stock price probably somewhat constrained and not what it should be trading for, but that's for the market to decide. Anyway, Craig, pleasure as always. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Kerry, thanks for having me. Really good to see you, and I wish you well for the rest of the conference.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.